The skills of sauce making are essential to the accomplished chef. In this series of programs, we introduce you to the classic brown, white, and emulsion sauces, and some of the sauces that are derived from them. Tomato sauce has earned its place as one of the leading sauces in today's cuisine. Contrary to popular belief, tomatoes have not always been a part of European cuisine. The wild tomato originated in South America and was cultivated in Mexico before Europeans started to explore the New World. It was the Spanish who introduced tomatoes to Europe in the 16th century. In this program, we'll look at a basic tomato sauce made with fresh or canned tomatoes. We will then discuss some important options to keep in mind and what to look for in a good canned or fresh tomato. The familiar marinara sauce and the classic French tomato sauce are next. Finally, we'll show you ways to put your sauces to work in several serving suggestions. Now to the tomato sauces, as demonstrated by Chef Giovanni Scapin. The chef will first make a simple, no-fuss tomato sauce, made with either fresh tomatoes or canned. For his fresh tomato sauce, he chooses to make tomato concassé from the plum tomatoes. His method is to score them twice, blanch them in boiling water, shock them in ice water, core, and peel them. He seeds them carefully and chops them up to make his fresh tomato concassé. Some chefs choose to simply remove the core, then chop the whole tomato with skin and seeds intact. Then, after cooking, they pass the sauce through a food mill to remove the coarser particles. Canned tomatoes are also perfectly acceptable for making this sauce. The selected canned tomatoes are passed through a food mill to achieve the desired consistency, which is much like that of canned crushed tomatoes. If the canned tomatoes are too watery, you may first strain off some of the liquid. This can shorten the cooking time. The chef sweats chopped onions in olive oil. Then add 2 or 3 dried bay leaves. He then adds either tomato preparation, fresh or canned, to the sweated onions in the pan. Here he uses the fresh tomato concassé. He adds a bit of salt and pepper. This batch cooks for about 20 minutes. The chef adds fresh basil in the last 2 minutes of cooking time. A sauce made from canned tomatoes may take up to 25 minutes to reach the desired consistency. This is the finished tomato sauce. It has good color, aroma, and taste. If you prefer a finer sauce, you may pass it through a food mill at this point. Use the die with large holes so that the consistency remains somewhat chunky. This is the consistency of our tomato sauce from the fresh and canned tomatoes. The chef feels the finished sauce would be perfectly suitable to toss as is with a pasta. Here is some general information the chefs have learned about cooking tomato sauce. Pots and pans do make a difference. Use a rondeau if you want your sauce to evaporate quickly, a narrower stock pot for slower cooking. Cooking fresh tomato concassé in a sauté pan will also accelerate evaporation. Use only non-reactive cookware, such as high-quality stainless steel, anodized, or enamel-coated pots when cooking tomatoes. Adjusting the thickness and consistency of your sauce as needed is also an important skill. Consider first that the intended use will influence how thick a sauce you want to have. Reduction by cooking out some moisture will create a thicker sauce. Even with the best ingredients, a sauce may still need some flavor adjustments depending on its use. If you know from experience that the product you are starting with is somewhat acidic, you can begin cooking with some sweeter items, for instance, sweated onions, carrots, or celery. An added benefit from this is that if the additional vegetables are also passed through the food mill, they create a thicker sauce. Adding a can of tomato puree or some tomato paste to your sauce will create a stronger flavor but also add thickness. Try adding olive oil to a cooked sauce or even an oil infused with another flavor. The oil combines with the tomato liquid and emulsifies the sauce somewhat, adding thickness. Always keep in mind that cooking is a constant learning process. In season, fresh tomatoes are the chef's choice, but good canned tomatoes can create equally superior sauces. Canned tomatoes can be purchased whole, crushed, or pureed.
Once you open the can, the first thing you want to do is look at the liquid inside the can. As you can see, inside here we have a very liquid kind of juice.
The amount and type of liquid will affect your cooking time and flavor. Decide what qualities you want your sauce to have and work with the additional liquid in the can.
Look at this core in here, very hard. Then we look to the other tomato, nice and soft. That means they probably will pick up when they were nice and ripe.
This consistency of the pulp will give you a good indicator to the cooking time and the richness of its flavor.
Now we're going to go into the taste, very important from raw stage, so you can actually see, you can taste the acidity or too much sweetness, and that means how much sugar the tomato have naturally or added into it. So in this way you can actually taste acidity, sweetness, and that's a good way to start to make your tomato sauce.
Once you know the qualities of your product, you can adjust or compensate for them as you cook. The chef feels, when evaluating fresh tomatoes, the type of tomato, the growing climate, the region, and the season all influence the quality of the finished tomato sauce.
If you want to make your tomato sauce from plum tomato or Roma, you want to make sure you pick up tomato with a nice color, firm, no bruises, good smell, and of course a good taste.
He cautions, though, that even in the same batch of tomatoes, there will be differences in quality. Experience has taught him to work with what's available.
So just make sure you do a little taste, cut a little piece with the seeds and everything, and just taste it, and you want those flavors to explode in your mouth. Sweetness, summer, and a lot of flavor.
Standard fare in American kitchens now includes some kind of dish, whether pasta, meat, or fish, served with a marinara sauce. In Italian tradition, marinara meant from the sea. It has gained other meanings, for instance, a sauce without meat, or a sauce with a bit more flavor, usually from garlic. It is similar in technique to the Italian tomato sauce shown earlier. The ingredients for this marinara consists of olive oil, onion, garlic, oregano, basil, tomato puree, and tomato concasse. Sweat the onions in olive oil until they are translucent. Add minced garlic cloves and sauté them until you can smell their aroma. Add fresh chopped oregano, tomato puree, and the tomato preparation, and a bit of salt and pepper. Simmer the mixture to achieve a heavy consistency. It could be from a half hour to an hour and a half, depending upon the intended use. The more you cook, the more it will thicken and darken. You may use the whisk to smooth out the consistency if desired. Add basil. Finally, adjust the seasoning to taste. Now, Chef Xavier Leroux prepares the classic French tomato sauce from this group of ingredients: tomato concasse, fresh or canned, salt pork to provide flavor and fat, pork bones or bacon are an option, clarified butter, diced onion, diced carrots, flour, white beef stock, chicken stock is an option, tomato puree, minced garlic, bay leaf, basil, a sprig of thyme, salt and pepper. The chef places the diced salt pork in a heated heavy gauge pot. He adds clarified butter, then sweats the diced onions and carrots for 3 to 5 minutes. He sweats the garlic. If it cooks too much, it turns bitter. Now the flour. It is added to the pot where it combines with the fat to form a roux. Roux, the French word describing a blend of fat and flour, serves to thicken the sauce. Now add stock and bring to a boil. Generally speaking, the ingredients that set the classic French tomato sauce apart from the Italian versions are the salt pork, roux, and stock. Now add the tomato puree and the tomato concassé. Add the herbs and salt and pepper. The chef lets it simmer for about 45 minutes. Then he checks the taste. He finds the sauce needs a bit of salt and pepper. Depending on the intended use for the sauce, the consistency can be adjusted. For instance, if it becomes too thick, stir in a bit more stock. The classic tomato sauce is finished by putting it through a food mill. For added smoothness, you may use an immersion blender. This sauce is often used as a component of a derivative sauce or as an accompaniment to grilled or pan-fried fish or poultry. The following serving suggestions offer ways you can use any of the sauces we've shown. We'll let you know when one sauce may be more appropriate than another, but most are interchangeable. A basic tomato sauce can easily be embellished with a number of additional flavoring ingredients. It is said there are almost as many different tomato sauce recipes as there are stars in the heavens. First, we'll make a spicy pasta dish using a sauce called a matriciana, using just a few of the ingredients. Chef Scapin renders pancetta, an Italian bacon, in a hot pan for a few minutes. He removes the pancetta briefly, then sweats the sliced onions in the fat, adds the garlic and some red pepper flakes, and returns the pancetta to the pan. He adds parsley and some white wine. He then adds the Italian tomato sauce he made from the fresh tomatoes. After simmering for 5 minutes, it's ready for use. He tosses a cooked pasta, bucatini, in with the cooked sauce. He finishes it with a bit of grated pecorino romano cheese, and it's ready to serve. Other spicy sauce variations great with pasta are arrabbiata and puttanesca. The marinara sauce is used as the base for a Livornese-style sauce to be used with any fish. In a separate pan, sauté garlic in olive oil. Add celery, sweated onions, chopped parsley, tomato concassé, and a marinara sauce. Smother the heated fish in the sauce with fresh basil and finish cooking it covered. With fish of this thickness, 5 minutes should be adequate. The accompaniment is grilled polenta. Let's try a meat dish, such as a pizzaiola sauce with a filet of veal. Sauté the scallopine, drain the oil, add garlic, a bit of olive oil, oregano, tomato concassé, and the tomato sauce. The accompaniments to the scallopine alla pizzaiola are pan-fried baked potato, slivers of fresh cherry tomato, and flat-leaf parsley. Tomato sauce, while steeped in tradition, has adapted well to the contemporary kitchen. Review what you have learned in this program about the tomato sauce preparations and the interpretations. Build from the basics. In other programs in this series, you can learn about basic brown sauces, espagnole, demi-glace, jus de volaille, jus rôti, white sauces such as velouté and bechamel, emulsions like hollandaise, and vinaigrettes.